Hey ladies and gentlemen, Krzysztof the Polish Geek with another video game review, and this time we're going to talk about Super Mario RPG Remake on the Nintendo Switch, which is a really great remake of a original SNES game. Super Mario RPG is a really great game, but first I'll tell you a little bit of my story with this game. Back at my boarding school, that's when I first played Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, which now is one of my very favorite video games of all time, and I'm really excited to review it for you, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes out on the Nintendo Switch, the remaster of it, I mean. And then later I played Super Paper Mario, which I also loved, and then finally in my last year at my boarding school, my friend, same one who actually brought Thousand Year Door to school, he had Super Mario RPG emulated on his Wii. So we beat it together, and I remember really loving this game. And then I found out this game was originally on an SNES, and because I own SNES, it's upstairs in the attic, it was easy for me to play this game, so I ordered it online on Amazon, and I got it, and I actually brought it to show you. This remake is pretty much the same game. It's just the same game with upgraded modern graphics and more cinematic cutscenes. But other than that, it's pretty much the same game, which I think is great. The best comparison is what Spyro Reignited Trilogy did to the old Spyro games, because that's pretty much the same thing. Very much same game, just with upgraded modern graphics. And I think this is simply phenomenal, because it's a great game that I don't think there was really a need to change much. So now let's talk about the game. More specifically, the Switch version of the game, the remake. Super Mario RPG is such a great remake of a great game. And it's not a loose remake, this is very much like Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Graphics are updated for the modern day, but the actual game is pretty much the same, which makes me so happy, since there wasn't really anything to change from the original. So, considering that outside of remastered graphics and cinematic cutscenes, this is pretty much the same game, maybe with few details changed, but whatever. So, let's discuss the actual game first. Things that could apply to either version of the game. Original SNES, or this one. Super Mario RPG was the very first Mario game to be JRPG style, in the style of Final Fantasy, while set in a Super Mario world and with Mario characters. And it made perfect sense that Square Enix actually developed this game, because while playing this game, Square Enix influence is very recognizable. But it's also very much a Mario game. But it's very much a Square Enix JRPG too. For example, there is a lot of jumping in this game, like there should be in a Mario game, but there is also leveling up, equipping gear and changing some of your attacks, as well as having some companions, each with their own unique ability, just like there should be in a JRPG. And there are also so many references to classic Mario games. Like here, you can change into the very original Mario sprite on the very first NES game. And here, when you take a shower in this hotel room, you can hear the original music from that game as well. The story of this game is rather simple. Certainly, by standards of a Mario game, it's pretty deep, since standard Mario games almost have no story, just an excuse story to play the game, but this game has actual story. In this game, story starts with Bowser kidnapping Princess Peach and Mario coming to the rescue. Sounds standard Mario story, right? Well, the quick twist is that a giant sword, Exor, overtakes Bowser's castle, and the rest of the game is Mario gathering a team of allies and together going on a journey to find different stars and then teaming up together to destroy evil forever. Bowser also becomes your ally here, and there is surprisingly a decent amount of character development. Again, if you compare it to some video games with some very deep, rich storytelling like 2018 God of War and God of War Ragnarok, the Witcher trilogy, many Final Fantasy games, especially Final Fantasy 6 and 7, my two favorite in the series. So if you compare it to all those games, the story is still rather bland and simple, but if you put it next to Mario games, which as I've been saying are mostly about gameplay with very little story, it's actually a pretty good and deep story with some nice characters. Again, deep story by standards of a Mario game. It's also pretty obvious how all subsequent Mario RPGs all took inspirations from this game. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is also about collecting stars, and Super Paper Mario, on the other hand, also has Bowser ally with you. And while I think those games are better games than this game, they still owe their existence very much to this game. Characters in this game are pretty fun and likable, and there are plenty of classic Mario characters, but there are also some new original characters exclusive to this game. Plus, there is a nice Easter egg. Link, the protagonist of Zelda series, makes nice appearance, and if you walk up to him and try to talk to him, you just hear Zelda music. The game is also really funny. I really like the joke in this game, and they are all so funny. I also like how the game sometimes breaks the fourth wall in a classic Mario fashion, or Nintendo fashion as a whole. Some of the gameplay mechanics are really hilarious, and yet they work perfectly. This game is really funny. It's probably actually one of the funniest video games I ever played, and it's all so delightful. The various different areas in this game are so unique and cool. Of course, there is Mushroom Kingdom where the game starts, but in this game it is actually one of many areas as opposed to a main area. It is only one section of the game's map, and as a result it kind of feels smaller here, but that's understandable since this game is about exploring a lot more of the Mario world as a whole. So while the Mushroom Kingdom feels smaller, the actual Mario world feels much bigger. There is, for example, a sunken ship, or Nimbus Land, a land clearly inspired by Jack and the Beanstalk. And some areas could be considered outright pretty dark and creepy for a Mario game. I love it. Subsequent Mario RPGs all owe it to this game. A SNES version of it, but you know what I mean. Sure, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door will always be my very favorite Mario RPG and one of my favorite video games of all time, but it's a fact that this game still owes its existence very much to Super Mario RPG. The battle system in this game is very good. It is turn-based, just like in the classic Final Fantasy games. You play as Mario, but on your journey you gather a team of allies with each having their own unique abilities that they can use in battles. It is based on time. If you time your attacks right, you deal more damage to enemies. It is pretty straightforward, but that makes sense since this is actually one of the very first JRPGs ever made, and since it's Mario, it's also specifically made to make it more accessible to more audiences. And the various enemies are pretty interesting. At first, there are classic Mario enemies like Goombas and Koopas, but later we get all sorts of weird monsters that you'd more likely expect in Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger. Again, it's Square Enix. The bosses are also pretty cool and pretty inventive. They are one of the biggest highlights of this game. Some require strategy, while some are pretty straightforward. And while some can be very familiar to Mario fans, others are also pretty unique to this game. The game also has plenty of really cool minigames as well, and they aren't just bonuses. They totally can be bonuses, but plenty of minigames are very much required to proceed with the game's story, and they are so much fun. I always very much love the music in this game too. Every area and world has an amazing, memorable theme, and they have been upgraded to modern, and yet it's still very much the same theme. Although you do have an option to actually change to a classic theme. Battle theme, for example, was always one of my favorites, and this remake has an updated version of it too, and I actually think the updated version is better, but still, If you prefer the original, then this game gives you an option to switch to the original. And sometimes I actually do that. And I love how in the original things that were happening on the map, but now they're happening in cinematic cutscenes. And I think this is really awesome. Let's compare. See? While very much same thing is happening, the latter has a cinematic cutscene rather than just showing us on a map what is happening. Do I prefer the original or the remake? Hard to say, because this is pretty much, as I said, the same game, just with upgraded modern graphics, but other than that it's pretty much the same game, and I think both are simply fantastic. I guess because of the remastered graphics, for now at least, I will slightly lean on the remake, but I think both games I really enjoy replaying much. The original for nostalgic reasons and the remake for the upgraded version. So I guess the more I play both games, that will really determine if I actually prefer the original and the remake, but as I just been saying, it's pretty much the same game anyway, so I guess it's not much difference. And my favorite Mario RPG is still Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. This is actually, as I've been saying a couple of times, one of my favorite video games of all time, and I'm so looking forward to review it for you guys when it comes out next year. But let's face it, even though this is one of my favorite games of all time, without Super Mario RPG, we would never get Thousand Year Door or any other Mario RPGs for that matter. All those games very much owe their existence to this very game. And also, I'm also going to say this remake is like one of those things that you didn't like, you knew you need. Like I didn't know I needed it. I mean, I love the game, but it never really occurred to me that they could potentially remaster it with modern graphics, but I'm so glad they did, because as I said, this is just one of those games that you don't know you need. But I think this is very much a must-have for any Nintendo Switch owner, and also any Mario fan and any JRPG fan, but if you just love Nintendo Switch, I think this is a must-have. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you later, bye!